Greetings and welcome to another River Radio Sports Central podcast alongside Matt Varney from 103.5 ESPN. I am Darren Kennard, and mercifully, Matty, the weather is not a story this week.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Now, for my schedule, the weather's still been a storyline, but that's because it's been making things up.
Right.
And we're looking at the collegiate level of things, which we more so look at the high school level on this podcast. But it has affected me, and I've dragged my body here, but I'm here, and that's what matters.
Well, and I'm just gonna say, and you know, look, I'm old. It's fine, but my driveway kicked my butt. I mean, it won 4 straight days, and I did get the ultimate victory, the completion with a clean driveway.
Yeah.
But mercy, it was a lot of effort getting there, and this old man, not as young as I used to be. That's for sure.
I struggled with my driveway. We had hired a kid to come do it, but I had to get to work. So I was like, I guess you're going to do half the job now. I'm going to do the first half, and it was kicking my butt. I did have to carve out a path late last week, though, for my sidewalk, one of my sidewalks to the back of my house, and that one didn't kick my butt the way I thought it was going to. I was pleasantly surprised at how easy it was. I was out there for maybe 15 minutes doing it, and I was like, I'm already done. It was great. So.
Well, mercifully, we don't have to worry about that. And I just looked at the forecast, and we're looking at 50s and 60s by early next week.
Yeah, that snow's going to be gone.
And but then, long range next weekend looks dicey. But again, you're here for sports, not weather. But, the two intertwine a lot. The GEC tournament, we talked about how that was going to affect it.
Yep.
They ended up condensing it down to 2 days, basically 3 games in 30 hours. Hardin County ended up beating NCOE in the championship game. NCOE, on top of having to play the 3 games in such a short period of time, had a double overtime game against Gallatin in the semifinals. So it was kind of like worst case scenario. Yeah. But still, Hardin County making the claim there that they are the tops in the GEC. And then last night, we record on Thursdays, they go on the road, a game that was added against Weber. And Weber ended up winning that game 70-54, but it was a 2-possession game midway through the fourth quarter. So I think that Hardin County is kind of put themselves in that place that they're going to be somebody that's going to be a factor in the postseason. And again, we can't talk about Weber without talking about Nathaniel Marlowe.
That's right.
28 more points. He now stands at 28.98 for his career, so just 102 points away from 3,000. He's 11th on the all-time IHSA list. And
that's awesome.
Depending on their postseason run, he's got a chance possibly to get into the top 5.
Which would be amazing to see something like that, to be up there. I mean, I'm enjoying following in the coaching ranks Joe Hossman. He's closing in on number 3. I think he's 10 wins away from that. But Nathaniel Marlowe, obviously a lot more present, a lot more. He has a chance to do that. Joe, that's like a year away right now for the Patriots. No offense to the Patriots, but for Nathaniel, that's present, and we're talking about in the next 2-3 weeks. He's going to be knocking on the door of some pretty big numbers. When you get down to single digits in that category, you've kind of forced the entire state to recognize this is a pretty good player here.
Yeah, and we've seen several milestones with Jamison Green at Harrisburg becoming the school's all-time leading scorer, boys or girls. Waltonville's Gage Peterson this weekend, became the school's all-time leading scorer, boys or girls.
Yeah,
and,
it's great.
Again, those are 2 kids that have been, to get to that level, and certainly with Nathaniel Marlowe too, they've had to be major contributors from the get-go.
Yeah.
And so you're talking 4 years of quality, and just to see them have these types of senior years, it's been pretty cool.
Gage Peterson especially at Waltonville is such an interesting case, because you're talking about a guy that up until this year had Kyle Cooper to lean on as well. And I know Gage was always scoring, but it was the fact that you didn't have to be on every single night when you had that 3-headed monster at Waltonville the past few years. And just the story also of him crossing 2,000 and taking the record is really cool. Happened because the previous record holder, she was at Pinckneyville when she broke it in the 90s.
Right.
Happens at Pinckneyville for Gage as well. Scores 23, I think, which are 32 was it? I think he scored the number that she wore the jersey number, right?
And
it was a really cool story. It was like, man, just all the universe works in strange ways, man.
And it's so weird, and we see it a lot because obviously the numbers are such a big part of what we do, and when those numbers line up in certain things, and it's just you step back and you go, wow.
Yeah. How could it have you couldn't have drawn it up any better, and you don't think that it's going to happen that way, and then it does. It's just the 1 in a million shots of it happening that way is just, it's really cool.
So we get to this time period that we're beyond the midwinters, and so we know that the postseason is just around the corner.
That finish line's in sight.
And so this is really kind of the dog days of the season.
Yeah.
And so you do see a couple in the next couple weekends, there are some high-level shootouts.
Yes, there are.
And, the Rich Herring Classic at Benton this week, Saturday, it's an all-day deal.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, what about just some tremendous matchups on tap?
Yeah.
Great basketball all day long.
Yeah, I mean, the one I think everybody's looking forward to, there's quite a few there, people looking forward to, but the one that is just top of mind for me is Goreville-Lawrenceville. That's going to be a heck of a game, a slobber knocker of a game. It's going to be a chance for, it feels weird to say this when you're talking about number one in the state, but it's a chance for Goreville to get right because they've kind of fallen on tough times recently. So this is a game of get right, but also kind of get your reputation back a little, because again, they've taken a couple tough losses recently. That this could be, you've got some people now looking at me like, well, maybe they aren't that upper echelon that we thought that they usually are. This is a chance for the Black Cats to say, hold on a second.
Right.
We are who you think we are.
And again, you knew when you looked at the schedule that the back end of their schedule was going to be absolutely loaded.
Yeah.
Weber, that was a game that I went to Friday night. Weber comes into town, and Goreville made that concerted effort, and we just talked about Nathaniel Marlowe. They doubled him pretty much as soon as he got off the bus.
Yeah.
And the rest of the Trojans' teammates just knocked down shots and and all of a sudden it's 31-10, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, I saw, I don't know if it was the first quarter score or the halftime score, but when I was doing the Murphy-Massac game, I saw 21-6, and I saw Nathaniel Marlowe had no points, and I was like, no, there's something wrong here, but it was not wrong.
What is wrong? Did Darren have something? Did he have like some sort of issue? But then, Goreville made the run, as you knew they would. Mm-hmm. They get it to 2 early in the fourth quarter, but then Weber, I mean, again, that's such an impressive road win for the Trojans to be able to first of all come out like gangbusters like that, and then weather the storm, and then hit some big shots down the stretch. And and it was different guys. Bryden Dalby, a sophomore, hit a couple big threes and got fouled on a couple other threes and made 5 of 6 free throws, and so those were huge points down the stretch. And then of course Marlowe got his. He ended up with 28. And,
yeah, of course.
And gosh, it was just, that's a big win. So then the next day, Goreville has to pack up and go to one of the other Woodlawn, and face the Cardinals on the road, and that was a tough game, and Woodlawn comes out on top. And so it was a tough weekend for the Black Cats. Mm-hmm. And so now it doesn't get they've got a couple conference games during the week, but now you're talking about the number 1 team in the state.
That's right.
And it's a big challenge. And then you look at next week, they got Casey Westfield, who's also state ranked. So again, it's going to get them loaded up for the postseason.
Yes.
But man, it's a tough spot for them right now.
Well, and I was going to say, just the fact that past weekend, that's something that you'd have a day in between, if not 2 days in between that, but that's a sectional type of situation for the Black Cats. If they make it to the sectional, they can sit there and say, we've been here before, we've dealt with a team of this caliber of Weber, and then if you get past them, oh hey, there's Woodlawn. That's something that could happen in a sectional for the Black Cats. They can sit there and say, okay, well, we've been there, we know what happens when everything goes wrong.
Sure. Let's
try to create a situation where things go right. So they've got that experience that a lot of 1A teams, as much as a lot of the good 1A teams around the area are trying to put themselves in positions of facing the 3As and some of the better 2As on the schedule. They're trying to put themselves in that position. A lot of them have not been put in the position that Goreville was last weekend, where they got a true taste of what a sectional is going to feel like against their compatriots.
Right, and so when you look at it, we've talked a lot about seeding, and that's still a couple weeks away. But Waltonville has kind of moved into that spot where they've kind of planted their flag as that, we should be the number one seed. Last weekend, Sparta loses to Carlisle convincingly, which was, was a surprise. And so when you start thinking about Goreville as the number one seed in that other subsectional, that means that when you get to the sectional, the one plays the two from the other side. Right. So you're going to have to go through both of whatever the combination is, barring upset, Woodlawn, Sparta, and then if Waltonville's the one, then you would see them in the sectional final. So what you're talking about last weekend is exactly what you could see in the sectional.
Absolutely. And so that's just something that, again, Waltonville's playing all these 3A schools, these monsters, but they haven't had that quiet experience that Goreville even had, that it's going to be invaluable, because when you're talking about playing a 3A school, they've got more athletes. They might be the quote-unquote better team just by virtue of being a bigger school, but you're not getting exactly the same style of basketball that you would see, and that might be good because, you're playing likely better athletes and everything with the bigger school, but Goreville now has that experience in their back pocket from just a few weeks before that presumed sectional that they hope to get to. That's going to be an invaluable experience without a doubt. If they can get through the regional title, I guarantee you that Todd Tripp Saturday morning says, all right, we're going to watch film on both of those games. Buckle in, boys. It's going to be a long afternoon.
Right. And you talked about Waltonville and their experience playing 3A. Last week they go to Marion and just gut out a victory on the road against a Wildcats team that's kind of snake-bitten.
Yeah,
I mean
truly.
They're 10-10, and this losing streak they're on, I don't think they've lost by more than 5 during the skid. But again, big win for Waltonville. Then they turn around and play Centralia in the Pinckneyville shootout. They lose 60-47, but that was a 6-point game in the fourth quarter. Right. So they certainly, there was nothing to hang your head about, because Centralia is 23-1,
right?
And one of the top teams, 24-1 now. Yeah, they were 23-1 after the win Friday. So, again, there's certainly no shame in that loss, and where that ties back into this Rich Heron shootout. Nashville is up next for Waltonville on the Saturday to close out the Rich Heron Classic, and the Hornets are rolling. Yeah, we've talked about them last week and in previous weeks. So those last 2 games at the Rich Heron Classic, Goreville, Lawrenceville, Nashville, Waltonville. Oh man, those are tasty.
Yeah, without a doubt, and that also plays a role in the stuff that doesn't really matter, but matters to us because we're the prognosticators and everything. The John A. Logan College SI basketball poll coming out today. Waltonville's up to number 4. They're theoretically the number 1A team in the area right now. I don't know how many people could argue against that, quite honestly. They're just fantastic right now. But playing Nashville, who's number 2, if you beat them, again, this doesn't mean anything, but in terms of the poll next week, if you go ahead and beat Nashville, if you're Waltonville, well, you're definitely moving up to number 3, and I wouldn't be surprised if you leapfrog past Mount Vernon, who's 17-7 right now and going through a stretch. I wouldn't be surprised if Waltonville is able to pick up a win against Nashville, which that's going to be a Herculean task in itself, but if they're able to do it, I wouldn't be surprised if Waltonville's sitting at number 2 on that poll next week.
Well, and if that happens, I mean, they're currently 3-1 against 3A teams.
Yeah.
Having beaten Marion, Carbondale, and Highland. And then they've already beaten Carterville.
Yeah.
And if they were to beat Nashville, those are, in this area, those are the 2 best 2A teams.
Without a doubt.
You would think. So, I mean, certainly the Spartans laying claim. Just quickly running down the schedule, Saturday at Benton, it's going to open up at 10 o'clock with Paducah St. Mary and El Dorado. Then Carlisle and Weber Township at 11:30, or just Weber if you prefer. Flora and Vienna go at 1. Then it's Benton and Richland County at 2:30, Pinckneyville and Marshall County, Kentucky at 4, then Goreville, Lawrenceville at 5:30, Nashville, Waltonville at 7.
It's going to be a good day.
That's a good day of hoops, man.
Good lineup right there.
We talked about postseason seeding and that the girls come out. I think today is the last day for the online seeding.
I believe so.
Which means that the brackets and matchups come out tomorrow. And here's the deal: the way they've backed the girls up a little bit, they're back to the regional quarterfinals are going to be next Saturday.
Yeah.
And so it's I mean, happy Valentine's Day.
Right.
Postseason is here for girls basketball.
Yeah, so anyone that's got a significant other that's playing on that team, say maybe we'll do Sunday instead, because that's gonna be you're gonna be busy. And I mean, every couple of years I feel like we see the quarterfinals happen on a Saturday, so it's not a surprise, but it is unfortunate it falls on Valentine's Day, but it's what it is.
Well, and that's it's not only that, it's the wrestling, boys and girls wrestling sectionals are Saturday, and girls state bowling, and so the girls bowling regionals will be this Saturday. Heron is a host. North Clay is hosting at Effingham. When we saw the boys bowling wrap up this past weekend, the Mount Vernon Rams brought home a third-place trophy from state.
Pretty good.
And Harrisburg, the defending champions, ended up 7th. And again, it shows you where their program level is. That that was not certainly not what they went up for.
No.
But when you think about Mount Vernon, the way they do state is there's 24 teams that make it. They cut the field in half after day one. Mount Vernon was 12th going into the final day. And
That's
so
impressive.
they moved from 12th up to 3rd to finish with a state trophy, and that's the real deal.
I mean, you're counting on some other teams to have breaks, but you also have to bowl well, you know? I mean, I don't think there was a perfect game bowled by any means, but you still have to have a couple really good games from your team.
Across not just one or two guys having great games. You need across the board quality, and that's especially the second session on Saturday. They really picked up the pace and again moved up to 3rd.
Yeah, that's what a lot of coaches that are in those positions say. Okay, this is a bad day for us. We made it on to the next day, though. We got to flip the script. That's flipping the script right there. Again, they needed some breaks to happen from the teams in front of us. You don't move up 9 spots without getting a little bit of luck on your side. But at the same time, you don't also go from 12th to 3rd without being better also.
You've got to take care of your business, and then you need to get some help in both things.
If you only have one of the two, you're maybe looking at going from 12th to 8th or maybe 6th the highest, which is still respectable.
Right. Still a heck of a move.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're not going to right there at the line to we're bringing home hardware, baby. That you needed everything to break your way, and that's fantastic. You could probably say, well, it'd be better if you brought home first, but I'll take a 9-place jump and bronze any day if it means that my team proved that, hey, we can be this type of team.
Well, and, we talked about also wrestling. Last weekend was the boys' individual wrestling sectionals, and the way wrestling's postseason set up is you have the regionals.
It's crazy.
It is. And so they award a team regional champion, and then those teams will compete in what they call the dual team sectional, and Murfreesboro won at Heron, won a regional title, and so now
they've been so good this year.
Yes, and man, tough draw for them. They go to Taylorville, and that's actually tonight, and they face that perennial power Vandalia, who
of course
is they. But again, you're one win away from making it to the dual team state, which is in Bloomington, coming up at the end of the month, and so it's interesting the way they did the schedule this year. They did the boys regionals last weekend. The team sectional semifinals are tonight. Girls regionals are this weekend, and our area teams have to go to Granite City.
Yay!
Planet Granite, for the win there. And then next Saturday, everybody has their section, Friday, Saturday. And so, and then the following week will be state. And so it's a little different. I mean, in some ways it's nice from our perspective that they didn't put it all in the same weekend.
Yeah,
and
that helps.
And they've gotten some issues with that because maybe coaches overlap, boys and girls programs, and so they've separated it a bit. But then next Saturday, it's all in for the sectionals. Yeah,
without a doubt. But back to Murfreesboro really quickly. I mean, Shea Baker, their head coach, I don't think he's reached 200 career wins quite yet, but he's inching very close to that. So that's a big milestone for him. And Murfreesboro, you talk about Vandalia being a perennial powerhouse. Murfreesboro has been quietly, for the past 15 years a powerhouse in Southern Illinois. They may not always be number one, but they're always in that conversation of like top 5 teams in the area. And this team, watching from afar, does seem like it's a special type of team. Now, again, special teams at this point, they're all special, so.
Right. Well, but the thing is, the discussion carries over from all the other sports where we talk about scheduling.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys go to Southeast
Anywhere.
Missouri. They will go to Springfield. They'll go to, they travel around because, night in, night out, they may not see the level, or they're not going to see the level that you're going to see tonight from Vandalia in the sectional. And to advance and to do things in state, you've got to up the schedule, and they certainly have done that.
And there was one specific, I can't remember which meet it was, but there was one specifically that they go to every single year. They go in knowing, we're not going to bring home the trophy. Yeah, that's fine. As you said, we're preparing for the future. Right. This year was the first time that they'd been there. That, again, I wish I could remember what one it was, but it was a massive one with all you're the smallest school there,
right?
And they came away with first place. It was a big deal because it was been there for so many years, and you're not expected to win, and then you come away with it. That was kind of the indicator for me and Steve Webb. We talked about it on games a few times. That was the indicator of this team's probably kind of special.
It's got a shot here,
and so we'll see. As you said, going to play wrestle Vandalia, they can come away with that. And go as a team. You hear so many wrestlers go into state as individuals. Sure. To go as a team, that means a lot for.
And that's a separate weekend than the individuals. And so again, what a tremendous opportunity that would be.
Just the bonding experience. We talked about golf and also just individual. If you can go as a team, that's a brotherhood right there. It's something that's even deeper than I think like a football team or basketball team making state, because it's so tough in wrestling. Because it's individual, but at the same time, it all hinges on everybody. We all got to go. So that brotherhood, I think, runs even deeper in a sport like wrestling. That it would mean so much for that team.
The winner of the Vandalia Murfreesboro sectional semifinal would go to state and would face the winner of Chicago Phillips and Chicago Hope Academy in the third quarterfinal in Bloomington, and that would be Friday, the 27th of February. So what I want to wrap up with today is just kind of, a little bit of a postscript on the discussion topic from last week about the changes coming on the football.
Right.
And it's currently being voted on about moving the start date of practice back to accommodate the number of practices recommended by the sports medicine and athletic trainers. And talked to an area AD, and I talked to an area athletic trainer, just kind of picking their brains about where this was. And the point that having the discussion with the athletic trainer, the fact that, without this August dead period that got taken away,
right?
The ability of these schools to basically run the contact days up until the start of practice, whether or not it gets moved back from August 10th to August 5th, is there. And so my question was, you have the acclimatization at the beginning of the summer. If you're doing these contact days up until the start of practice, do they have to go back? And the point was made to me, well, those contact days are officially considered voluntary.
It's true.
And in my mind, it's kind of like the NFL training camp, the involuntary, voluntary camps. And again, they have to be stated as voluntary, and they have to go on the assumption that, there are kids that will have missed either that. If you go more than a week, then you have to reacclimate to the temperatures.
Yeah.
So they have to go under the assumption that there are people that have missed or maybe didn't do all summer. And so even though you can have contact days up until right before the start of practice, that very first day of official practice will be back in the, in that helmet only for a couple days.
That'll be good.
And pads. And so I thought that was an interesting discussion point, and something, again, I just, it's summer and you're there, but they have to go on the assumption for everybody. And that makes total sense.
I agree.
And then the other thing was I asked an area AD, are you given a time frame where you can use the contact days? and I was told that it can't start before obviously the end of school, which whatever week 49 that ends, when the school ends, and that makes total sense. Yeah. But there is no cutoff point for when contact days. So no matter the sport, no matter whatever, without that dead week, contact days can go right into practice.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. And the point that this person made was they were considering potentially instituting their own dead week. But as we talked about last time, that works, but when other people are not, where do you go?
I think that you will see schools in the first couple years doing that, but within the next 5 years, I think everyone will be like, we got to do away with it, unless there's a consistent school in the classes that Southern Illinois competes in, at least, so 1 through 5A, unless there's a consistent school that is able to go to state and win state multiple times in the next 5 years that is doing that. I don't see that being something that is a norm in the next 5 years.
Unless it's a conference instituted rule.
Perhaps.
I mean, that's the only other way I could see that, hey, the conference comes in and says, hey, gang, we're gonna take this week off. And but again, if you're a team that's opening up with somebody up north that's not doing that, and basically, and again, it's that keeping up with the Joneses, and you don't want to feel you're getting behind, and so again, it's a whole Pandora's box that's been opened here, and the voting will go on until I think the 12th, or sometime in mid-February, and so we will see how that plays out. But I think it's still going to be interesting how the summer will flow into the fall, and again, it's hard to think that football's not just really going to start July 6th.
It will. Forward. It will. Yeah. Well, again, you'll see some schools across the state that will try to do the right thing and try to institute a dead week, try to do these things within the next 3 to 5 years, because you can't get all 450 schools or whatever it is that are competing in football. You can't get them all on the same page of we're going to do what's right, because there's going to always be someone that says, well, if we eliminate this, we'll have a better chance of winning this game or getting prepared. Right there, it's going to, in the next 3 to 5 years, everyone's going to be on the same page of we're going to do what makes us most competitive rather than what makes us the most safe, without a doubt.
Well, and that even goes for how we got to the point we're at with summer stuff. Is, some of the old school coaches, I think that, many of my discussions with Coach Way when he was with Harrisburg, he hated the summer stuff.
I'm sure.
It was one of the reasons why he's like, I want to go. And like Lee, he's not,
get out of here.
I want to go practice. And so, but again, if this school down the road is practicing and we've got them on the schedule, then if I'm not practicing, then I've fallen behind.
Yeah, and something again that I brought up last week about the one coach that was able to use the dead week for own personal reasons. I've talked to other coaches that are in different sports that are much more year round, that are kind of on the upper end of how long have they been coaching, how old are they, and a lot of them are starting to be like, I just don't have time to go do anything. I can't take a vacation, and which it's part of the life that you sign up for. But eventually you're allowed to say, you know what, I do want to go take that trip to Bermuda or wherever, and that's the way that football's about to go too, because it's going to turn into a year-round sport.
Right, and you might have December off, or
oh no, that's time to be in the weight room.
But yeah, exactly. It's all the other stuff that plays into it. So again, we'll keep our eyes peeled for that, and give you updates as we get them from the IHSA vote on the football season start. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the River Radio Sports Central podcast. For Matty V, I'm Darren Kennard. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.